Yo, welcome back everybody to a brand new video here on the second channel, and today I thought I would do my complete set review and a buy list for Black Bolt and White Flare, which is coming out in, what, like 12 days now? So it's just on the horizon, less than 2 weeks away. I think it's time we take a look at the set here, and I'm going to break down what cards you should be getting from this brand new set. The set doesn't have, like, an insane amount of, like, new archetypes or anything, but what it does do is it upgrades a lot of older decks and makes them a whole lot stronger and gives them more reason to see play. In fact, it revives some old archetypes, which I think is really, really cool. So if y'all are new here to the second channel, make sure to subscribe down below. We're now on the road to 25k subs. I'll leave a link to Justin Basil's site here in the description, the site I'm using for today's video. And yeah, I think without further ado, let's get into the set review and buy list. So, starting off, we have the grass Pokemon here. We do have the new Superior EX, which does have an ability where attacks used by your Pokemon do 20 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon. Superiors does stack, so you can have multiple of these guys on the board. It's got the attack Grass Order that does 150 damage. You can search check for 3 cards and put them in your hand. So, if your opponent does not Iono you, you can actually do quite a bit with that attack. You can get a lot of good cards to set up for a really cool second turn. It is a stage 2. It does require 4 energy. Does have a good ability, though, which I will say, being a grass type isn't even terrible anyways, because, like, there's a lot of Grimmsnarl and Charizard going in the format right now. This card is, like, fine. I don't think it's, like, the greatest card ever, but, you know, it could maybe see some play. Wouldn't really hurt to pick up a couple of these, I guess, if you're going to be getting any singles. Getting the Superior isn't terrible, I guess. New Simisage isn't very good. We do have a new Lilligant here with an attack that does 30 damage. Flip a coin if heads. Your opponent's active is now paralyzed, and poison if tails. They're now confused. Pretty mediocre card. Doesn't really do anything too crazy. We have a new Maractus, which unfortunately is not as good as the other Maractus we already have. It's got Lively Needle. Does 20 damage. If it gets healed, you do 100 more damage. So 120 for 1 energy, but healing 100 HP Pokemon is a little tricky. It's not really that good. We do have a Carablast here, so if we ever do get a good Escavalier, this might be an alright card to play. It's got that exciting evolution ability. If you have any Shellman in play, this Pokemon can evolve during the first turn that it was played, which is actually really, really cool. So you play down the Carablast, you got a Shellman in play, the Carablast can immediately evolve into the Escavalier. But I don't know if there's really any good Escavaliers in the format, but if there is, or if there any point ever becomes a good one, you know, it's not a bad card to pick up, in my opinion. New Amoonguss here with Dangerous Reaction to 30 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon is affected by a special condition, you can do 120 more damage, which is not too shabby either. You know, 150 for 1 energy is not bad. You do have to put them with a special condition, but obviously you can play this with Brute Bonnet, and you can put a Binding Mochi on this card. So it's a nice one-prize grass attacker that can knock out big grass-weak Pokemon for 1 energy, which isn't bad. I don't know if this is, like, going to see much play, though. Like, if you're playing maybe, like, a Poison Brute Bonnet deck, maybe you could try to fit a couple of these in here just to make your Charizards and Grimmsnarl matchup a little bit stronger, if you're already playing the Brute Bonnet, right? All right. We do have a new Levani here, which unfortunately doesn't do anything too good. Just heals 100 damage from each of your basic Pokemon, which isn't bad against the spread deck like Dragapult or Grimmsnarl, but you're a stage 2, so it's like you're kind of already a bit slow getting there. We do have a brand new EX to look at here, and that is Whimsicott EX. Now, I've already seen this card, see a bit of play in Japan. It's got the attack, Energy Gift, search your deck for up to 3 basic energies and attach them to your Pokemon in any way you like. And then you have Wonder Cotton that does 50 damage. Then your opponent reveals their hand, does 50 damage for each trainer you find there. So it's got one of those like Poltergeist style attacks, right, where your opponent builds up a big hand and then you can like do a bunch of damage. It is a grass Pokemon, so keep in mind it's going to be a great way to deal with Grimmsnarl and Charizard with that Wonder Cotton attack. The first attack isn't bad either. You do get a lot of energy on the board. An energy acceleration attack is nice. Now, Whimsicott does only have 230 HP, which does make it slightly fragile for a 2-prizer, but being a grass type is good, and it does have 2 pretty solid attacks, I want to say. It's definitely not a bad card. Not a bad card to pick up. Maybe a playset of, like, just getting 4 copies of it just to have it isn't bad, just because I think it could see some play at some point where somebody could make something work with this Whimsicott. So, definitely not a bad card just to have. I don't know how good it will be right off the rip, but it's definitely not a bad one, right? It's got 2 very interesting attacks. It's got a good typing. The only thing really holding it back is that it is a bit fragile. Like 230 HP makes it a little squishy, but it's definitely not a bad card. New Sawsbuck doesn't do anything too crazy. And we have a Shelmet here. If you have any Carablast in play, this Pokemon can evolve during the first turn. So I think Shelmet's probably a bit better because there are better Aselgors in the format. We do have that Aselgor that has that hit and run attack, which definitely seems good. And then you got the Aselgor with Acid Spray, does 50 damage. You flip a coin if heads, discard energy from your opponent's active. I mean, if you're going to play an Aselgo, you probably want to play the other one that we got from, what was it, Journey Together with the hidden run attack. That's just probably the better Aselgor to play. We got a new Verizian here. Doesn't do anything special for a grass attacker, unfortunately. We have a Victini. Unfortunately, not the reflip Victini, which is, the one I wanted them to reprint if they're bringing back them black and white cards. It's got V-Force for 2 fire energy. Does 120 damage. If you have 4 of your Pokemon in play on your bench, the attack will do nothing. So you have to fill your bench up. 120 for 2 energy is really not that good. This card used to be good back in the day when it did that, but nowadays it's pretty mediocre. Unfortunately, this card is kind of unplayable. Like, you could maybe play it in Armor Rouge. It's a nice one-prize attacker, which is cool. That's the only thing that keeps it from being, like, totally unplayable. At least it's a one-prizer. There are going to be niche situations where you can hit with Victini, but I think if you're going to play a one-prize fire attacker that you want to use that can do decent damage, I think Shi was just probably a better card, unfortunately. Gets held back, and 80 HP also makes it kind of weak. All right. We have a brand new Emboar line here, which does have that Inferno Fandango ability. As often as during your turn, you can attach a basic fire energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. Yeah, we got Fire Energy Rain Dance back in the format. Now, there is a decent amount of Fire Energy acceleration in the meta right now, with Armor Rouge and Ho-Oh EX being a pretty solid deck, which I think might be the better way to play a Firebox deck right now. But Rain Dance is never a bad thing. I'm not going to say Emboar is going to be completely unplayable. There might be a point in time where Emboar does see play. I mean, when we had originally the Inferno Fandango Emboar back in the black and white era, it was rivaling with Typhlosion Prime for a little bit. I think Typhlosion saw a little bit more play than Emboar, so it's going to be a similar case here where, like, Emboar clashes with another good energy acceleration fire deck that might be a little bit better than Emboar, but there will come a point, I think, where Emboar will be good. Never a bad idea just to pick up a playset of the Tepig, the Pignite, and the Emboar line, because I mean, Rain Dance is really good, and I think maybe at some point in the future, we might see Emboar see some play. Maybe it's waiting for, like, a really good Mega Evolution to, like, break it. Like, I think we're getting a Mega Camera Up, actually, which they revealed that there is a Mega Camera Up, but unfortunately, the image is a little too blurry to make out what the translation on the card says. I'm sure within the next few days, we're going to find out what the Mega Camera Up does. So, yeah, maybe we're just waiting for, like, a really good fire type to come out to break Emboar. But, yeah, definitely a good card to pick up, like, a playset of, in my opinion. It's a pretty solid card. Next up is Darmanitan, not as good as the one we already have in the Ends deck. Semi-Seer is unplayable. We have Heatmore with Tongue Catcher's check for up 3 in a combination of Fire Pokemon and Fire Energy put in your hand. It's like Ethan's Adventure in an attack, kind of, but it's not very good. All right, we do have a brand new Chandelure here, which has the attack Explosive Flame Pillar that does 50 damage. If you have at least 10 basic fire in your discard, it does 100 more damage. So, not a terrible attack. You can obviously play cards like Brilliant Blender, Rev of Room, and all kinds of cards to get energy in the discard. The problem is you're only doing 150 damage. If you had a better damage output, this could actually have been a bit better. Like, it could have been a better version, or maybe not even a better version, but like a one-price version of Ceruledge EX. But unfortunately, I don't think Chandelure is very good, because why not just play Ceruledge instead? That's kind of my problem. Not a bad card, kind of. It's got 2 okay attacks, but, like, it's nothing. It's just very mid across the board. I don't think you need to get any Chandelures, which sucks. Dude, Chandelure is an awesome Pokemon. All right, next up, we do have a new Volcarona. This one actually is interesting. It's got that Heat Wave Scales ability. Once you're in turn, discard a basic fire energy from your hand, and then you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon burned. So it's an interesting ability that's actually not bad. Combine this with the Magmortar we do have to make the burn damage do more damage. The problem with Volcarona, though, is it's competing with Volcanion EX, which is kind of the same thing, right? Volcanion, when it's in the active, you can leave your opponent's active Pokemon burned. Volcanion's a bit easier to use because it's versatile. You don't have to specifically play it with fire energy like you do with Volcarona. But Volcarona is not bad. Is it better than playing Volcanion? I don't know, like, not in every deck. I think some decks will still prefer to play Volcanion, obviously, because you don't want to play a Stage 1 line with Fire Energy, but Volcarona could be its own little deck with Magmortar. There could be some kind of engine there. Maybe, like, Magmortar, Volcarona, Budew could be a thing. Not the worst card ever. Maybe getting a couple copies of this just in case, like, isn't bad. But I think Volcanion is ultimately just better, though. Now, this is a card I do think is really good. We have Reshiram EX. Now, this card is like a kind of a nerfed version of Charizard. Or not, I don't even know if it's nerfed. It just doesn't have as much HP as Charizard. It's also got different typing, but it does have the attack Blaze Burst that does 130 damage. This deck does 50 more damage for each prize card your opponent's taken. Then you have to discard an energy from the Reshiram. Yes, 130 plus 50 for each prize they've taken is much like Charizard's Burning Darkness attack, which I think this card can do actually more damage than Charizard. They take 1 prize, you're doing 180. They take 2 prizes, however, then you can see the damage is scaling pretty quickly. This is going to be a nice card to have within the Ho-Oh Armor Rouge deck. Also, a pretty solid card in the Emboar deck. So, at any point, if Emboar EX, or Emboar EX, the heck, if Emboar ever becomes playable, then Reshiram EX is a great addition to that Inferno Fandango Emboar deck. So, definitely a good card. I would probably get a couple copies of this card at the very least, like probably just 2. You probably don't need more than just like 2 Reshiram. But yeah, Ho-Oh Armor Rouge, I think, is going to get a lot better with this set because we are getting some new cards for it. Reshiram is one of the new cards we're getting because now this Ho-Oh deck effectively has a mini Charizard EX in the deck. So definitely a strong card for fire decks, and I would definitely pick up a couple copies of it if possible. All right, Simipour's unplayable. We do have a new Samurott here, which unfortunately kind of got the low end of the stick out of the starter Pokemon. Anyways, got that ability. Raging Rapids here. Once your turn, you may switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon, then your opponent also switches. You got Energy Slash that does 30 damage, plus 50 more damage, reach energy on the Samurott. You could load the Samurott up with energy, which I think could make it work a little bit. Like, I guess you'd have to play it with Excalibur, obviously, but then you're playing 2 stage 2s. The ability is definitely interesting. You get a free switch, and then you also force your opponent to switch. There could be some situations where that is powerful. There are already switch abilities in the game, though, with stuff like there's a Gengar that allows you to switch for free. I don't know how good the ability actually is. This card maybe is mid. I don't know if it's worth picking up many copies of it, unfortunately. New Basculin here with Bared Fangs that does 50 damage. Your opponent's active has no damage on is nothing. Pretty mid. New Swan is also pretty mid. We do have a brand new Vanillux line. I am a big fan of Vanillux, one of my favorite Pokemon. But unfortunately, this Vanillux is not as good as this Vanillux. But no, seriously, this Vanillux is kind of a reprint of the old Vanillux from Noble Victories with that double freeze. Attack does 90 damage, you flip 2 coins, does 90 for each heads. If either of them do get heads, your opponent's active is immediately paralyzed. So you flip 2 coins, as long as one of them gets heads, you can do 90 damage and then paralyze them, or 180 and paralyze. Best case scenario, you flip double heads. The problem with this Vanillux, so 1 requires 3 energy as opposed to 2. The format's a lot faster, so like 3 energy is a bit slower, you're a stage 2. And then also, there's no way to reflip the attack. This card was really good back in the day because you'd play it with the Victini that allowed you to reflip the coins if you didn't like the outcome. So this card could be cool. Like these instant paralyzed cards are always decent, but the problem is it's stage 2, requires 3 energy, and we don't have a Victini card in the format. It's not a bad card, but I don't know. Like as a Vanillux stand, I'm gonna get it. I just don't know if it's gonna see much play. All right, what could see play is the new Rounders. We got Timple with Round, 20 damage for each Pokemon. Your Pokemon to play with Round, and then Palpitoad, 40 damage for each of your Pokemon to play with Round, and then finally, Seismitoad, 70 damage for each of your Pokemon to play with Round. So if everything in play has Round, you're doing 280 damage with the Seismitoad. Now, the cool thing with Seismitoad, it does need 3 Colorless energy. You can play that with the new Ignition energy to fulfill the attack cost. And of course, with all the evolution line having Round, technically, as long as you don't prize one of these pieces, just play redeemable ticket. Boom, look at that. Seismitoad's doing 280 for 1 energy attachment. Pretty strong card. Not bad. It's going to be a fun little rogue deck. Maybe like, I don't even know if it's Bad Deck Friday. Maybe close to Bad Deck Friday. It's a fun one. You don't have to pick this up. If you want to have some fun, maybe pick up the evolution line. But it's like, okay. Next up, we have Tiratuga, which does have that Ancient Debris attack. For 1 water, do 30 damage. The attack does 30 more damage for each item card in your opponent's discard pile. Trash Lance is back. Now, this card is very interesting. I don't know how good it's going to be, because Trash Lance is a lot different now in this format than it was in the past format. Like, you're rivaling this with, like, Budu. To be fair, though, there are decks out there that are playing a lot of items right now, like Earthen Vessels and Ultra Balls and Rare Candies and stuff. This card could be good in some matchups, but some matchups it also won't be very good in. Being a 1-prizer is nice, but there is one big downside to Tiratuga, though. It does require it to evolve from a fossil, which really sucks. You have to evolve from a fossil, so you don't have a great way to search out the fossil. You can't, like, Buddy Poffin for fossil. You can't Nest Ball for fossil. So you have to, like, Arvin for fossil. So it's a bit awkward to get into play. It's got a really strong attack. I would maybe consider picking up a playset still, just because Trash Lance is such a strong attack. It's never a bad thing to have a playset of the fossil and the Tiratuga, just because how good Trash Lance used to be. But I think right now, it seems kind of mediocre, in my opinion. And then we got Carcosta, which is what it evolves into. It's got Mighty Shell. Prevent all damage on this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon with any special energy on them. It's actually not bad against Dragapult EX when they're all playing like Luminous Energies and Neo Uppers right now. And then you got the attack Big Bite that does 150 damage during your opponent's next turn, and the fighting Pokemon cannot retreat. That can be kind of annoying for sure if your opponent doesn't play a lot of switching cards. Not a bad card. If you're going to play the Tiratuga in the deck, you could maybe squeeze in 1 copy of Carcosta, just because the ability can be very good against special energy heavy decks. Or any deck using the new Ignition energy or even Prism energy like Ho-Oh Armor Rouge will be very... they won't like the Carcosta. So if you're going to get a playset of Tiratuga, at least get a couple copies of Carcosta too, in my opinion. This Alomomola is actually interesting too. It's got that Gentle Fin's ability. Once during your turn, this Pokemon is in the active spot. You may put a basic Pokemon with 70 HP or less from your discard on your bench. That's kind of a bananas ability. Like, being able to revive a Pokemon for free like that is nuts. Now, Alomomola does have 110 HP, so you do have to find it with, like, Artisan or Nest Ball, but that's not really that bad. It's, like, the same thing as finding a Monkey Dory. And yeah, that ability is really powerful. Being able to recover Pokemon is really good, especially against a bench sniper deck, or even in a meta where, like, sometimes you discard something, or you want to, like, late game get a Pokemon back into play. It's not a bad ability at all. This is actually a pretty playable card. Getting a playset of this card isn't a bad idea if you're going to build multiple decks. You want to use this, because it's definitely a card I could see being played in multiple different decks, not just one specific deck. So definitely not bad. Definitely get some copies of this card just because it is pretty playable, which is like a first for a Alomomola. New Beartic here with continuous headbutt does 50 damage. You flip a coin until you get tails, 50 for each hedge, and then sheer cold. I mean, pretty mid. Cragnol's also mid. We have a new Reshiram EX, which is interesting. It's a pretty strong spread attacker with that Blizzard burst attack, which for 2 water and a Colorless energy does 130 damage. The attack does 10 damage to each of your opponent's bench Pokemon for each prize your opponent has already taken. So in the late game, this attack can actually do some pretty big damage, which I quite like, to the bench. Now, your opponent doesn't need to take prizes, but you know what? You can start doing like 50 damage to the bench max, which is actually pretty powerful. If you can try to fit this in like a spread deck like Frostlass, Monkey Dory, you could do some decent damage at the end of the game and do some little board wipes. Obviously, it gets gatekept by Shaman, but not bad. I mean, maybe getting like a couple copies of this card isn't going to kill you. It's not the best card ever, but its spread attack is decently strong. So, I don't know, maybe get a couple copies of it if you want to have some fun. We do have a new Keldeo EX, which unfortunately isn't as good as the old Keldeo EX. It has Gale Thrust for water and colors, does 30 damage. If it moves from the bench to the active spot, you do 90 more damage. Pretty mid. There's not really any reason to like play this over like any other water Pokemon. And then, you know, Sonic Edge is 120 damage and isn't affected by any effects. It does have a Shred attack, which is good against Crustle and Mimikyu. I don't know, like I'm not going to be playing this in my Shempow Baxcalibur deck. You know, it's a pretty mediocre card, unfortunately. And probably one of the worst EXs in the set, actually, which is kind of sad to say. New Zebstrika here with Electro Bullet. Does 100 damage, does 30 damage to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Kind of mid. New Emolga here with Call for Family and a free retreat. It's similar to an old Emolga we used to have. I don't know if Call for Family, like, this attack is going to be that good right now. Like, there's better things you could do, like Budu or Cleffa are just probably better attackers right now in that regards for the setup phase, but it's a decent little card. I don't know if you really need a playset of it, but, like, maybe get a couple copies of it if it ever sees play, which I don't know if it will. It kind of competes with baby Pokemon. Maybe at some point in the future, though, if babies rotate and the format slows down a little bit. New Joltik, and a new Galvantula does 50 damage, discard all lightning energy from this Pokemon to 50 for each card discarded. I mean, I guess you could play this with like Magneton and Electric, but like just play Miraidon at that point. It's a pretty mediocre like attacker compared to those. And then we have Tynamo, and then we have a brand new Electric, or I would say brand new Electric, but it is like a reprint of the old Electric from Noble Victories with that Dynamotor ability. Once you're in turn, attach a basic light energy from your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. This attack, or the ability, sorry, is really powerful. This completely revives Miraidon. Like, Miraidon might be fully back in the format now because of this Electric. It is that good of a card. Definitely a card you want to get a couple copies of. The Miraidon Electric deck isn't going to play 4 copies of it, but at any point that does happen, you probably just want to get a playset of Tynamo and a playset of Electric, because this card is very good for Miraidon decks. You got Iron Hands, Miraidon, and the brand new Zekrom EX, which I think we're going to look at very shortly here. This card is very good. Definitely get a playset of it. One of the best cards in the set, and it might revive Miraidon back in the format. Miraidon might be good again with this card. And then there's Electros that goes with it, which doesn't really do anything too crazy. I mean, its attacks are pretty mediocre, so I'd just skip on that. But definitely get the Electrics for sure. New Stunfisk here. Mudbolt does 20 damage. If it has a fighting energy on it, does 20 more damage. Kind of mid. We do have a new Thundurus here, which is similar to the old one we had from Noble Victories. Or Emerging Powers, I think it was. Charge, so check for a basic lightning attached to the Pokemon, and then 110 damage, discard energy from it. You can play it as a 1-prizer in your Electric deck. There's other better 1-prize lightning Pokemon you can play, though. There's another Thundurus, which I actually think is just better than this card. But then we do have Zekrom EX, which is a great addition to Miraidon. Much like Reshiram, it's like a baby version of Charizard EX. It's got Voltage Burst, does 130 damage, plus 50 more damage for each prize your opponent's taken, and then it does 30 to itself. So, yeah, great card. I mean, in the late game, this card is going to do some big damage. You're basically giving Miraidon the ability to play Charizard EX, and you can pair this with Electric, obviously, as a way to build it up. Very strong card. You definitely want to pick up a couple copies of Zekrom EX for sure. If you're going to be playing Miraidon Electric, get a 4/4 line of the Electric, and then get at least 2 copies of Zekrom EX. This card is very good for Miraidon. Definitely a great card. One of the better EXs in the set for sure. And then we do have a new Swoobat here. Shuffle one of your opponent's bench Pokemon, all cards, or shuffle one of your bench Pokemon, sorry, back in the deck. It's like, okay, it's a way to heal, but then you have to, like, re-get the Pokemon back out. Not sure. That's very good. New Sigilif here with Telekinesis, 70 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. It's like mid, requires a lot of energy. New Musharna here. Search your deck for any number of Fennel, reveal them within your hand. So there's a new supporter we are getting, and we'll get into that later. And then Sleep Pulse is 50 damage, flip a coin of heads. Your opponent's active is now asleep. Very mediocre. The new Coffer Gregas is interesting, though. It's got the attack Elongating Damaregis. Move all damage counters from your bench Pokemon to one of your opponent's Pokemon. The style of attack has always been kind of annoying. Like, there's the Wobbuffet in the format, that the Team Rocket's Wobbuffet you can play this with, to Dedenne EX. This actually isn't a bad attack. You can heal something and knock something out at the same time if you move enough damage counters. Not a bad card. Maybe get a couple copies of this Coffer Gregas, like 2/2 line of this card. It's decently playable. It's not a bad attack at all. These attacks have always been kind of annoying to play against. With the right Pokemon, this Coffer Gregas could be pretty annoying to play against. So definitely maybe get a 2/2 line of this card, in my opinion. I don't know if that's the optimal Yamask, though, but still. New Gothitelle here with Twisted Future. Once you're in turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may have your opponent shuffle their hand in their deck and draw 3 cards. A pretty disruptive ability. It is a lot of work, though, to get going. It is a Stage 2 Pokemon, obviously, but the ability is very strong, and there can be a lot of moments where, like, putting your opponent 3 cards can be very annoying and can definitely make it hard for the opponent to chain attacks. And then you got Synchro Shot that is 90 damage. For the same number of cards in your hand as your opponent, do 90 more damage. You're probably mostly going to use it for the ability. The ability is annoying. I don't know if it's that good, but maybe if Iono rotates, we don't get a hand disruption card as good as this, as Iono come back. Maybe it's okay to have. Maybe get, like, a couple copies of this Gothitelle, like a 2/1/2 line of this, I guess. Because the ability could potentially at some point see play. It's one of those, like, could-be cards. We have a new Reuniclus line here with the attack Cellular Awakening. For each of your bench Pokemon, search deck for a card that evolves in that Pokemon and put it onto that Pokemon to evolve it. Not a bad setup attack. Now, the downside is, the problem is, it's Stage 2 already, so you have to get Reuniclus out first with Rare Candy to even make the attack work. I don't know how good it is, but it does have Evo Lariat that does 40 damage for each of your evolution Pokemon in play, so I think it's definitely not a bad card. It's like the Evo Press Torterra we had, which was kind of decent, and then obviously this card has a way to get evolutions out a bit easier with its first attack. Not a bad card. It's going to be more of like a fun deck. I wouldn't really pick it up for competitive value, but as a fun deck for sure, it's not terrible. Then we got a new Behemoth here with Psychic. There's 80 damage, plus 30 more damage, reach energy on your opponent's active. Not as good as the other Behemoths we had, unfortunately, so I'd pass on that. New Golurk I'd also pass on. Unfortunately, it's not very playable. But this new Meloetta is definitely interesting. It's got that live debut ability. If you go first, this Pokemon can attack on your first turn. Not a bad ability. And then you got Echoed Voice. It does 30 damage for 1 Psychic Energy. The next turn, its Echoed Voice will do 80 more damage. Then you're doing 110 the next turn for 1 energy. Now, this Pokemon can donk your opponent. If they start Budu, you can just knock it out with Echoed Voice. But you can also use this card with Vitality Band and Colorless Clefairy to donk Dreepies. But the big thing is, this card will maybe see some play with TM Evolution or even Turbo Energize. Basically, going first, if you get that turn 1 TM Evolution, you can use TM Evolution turn 1. So, like, if you're playing Dragapult, you can go, like, turn 1, going first, you can get 2 Dracoloaks out, which is actually really cool. So, not a bad card. I would maybe pick up a couple copies of the Meloetta, maybe even just a playset of Meloetta EX, just like 4 copies of it, just in case. It's a decent enough card that it might see some play at some point in its lifespan. Maybe pick up some copies of it because I think it is playable. It's definitely an interesting card for sure. And it can donk the opponent, play with like Venture Bomb, Brute Bonnet, Mighty Mochi to do more damage. I don't know if it's better than playing the other Petron, obviously, but it's not a bad card at all. And then we got the big one here. This is one of the best cards in the set, the Frillish and the Jellicent. Frillish has that Sea Shadows attack that is 20 damage and then item locks your opponent. That's pretty diabolical because then it evolves into the Jellicent here with Sea Curse. As long as it's in the active spot, your opponent can't play any items or tools from their hand. That is so annoying. And then, of course, you have Power Press. It is 80 damage. This Pokemon has 2 extra energy on it. You do 80 more damage. So for 4 energy, you're doing 160 damage. So the attack is mid, but the ability is really powerful. Item locking and tool locking is very strong. Starting off like Air Balloon, which is a new card we're going to be getting. Starting off TM Evo, Turbo Energize, Devo is like really strong. And then, of course, item locking alongside that. It's just so good. It's a little overkill, honestly, to lock the tool cards. This card is really good in Gardevoir. Obviously, Gardevoir Jellicent is going to be a very powerful archetype. It might be the best deck in the format, unfortunately. Just that good of a card. Jellicent is broken. Giving Gardevoir this universal item lock is low-key kind of overpowered. Very good card. Yeah. Just definitely watch out for Jellicent. I mean, I would probably just pick up A playset of it, just screw it. Just get 4 Jellicent, 4 Frillish. Just it's that good of a card. It's one of the best cards in the set. You probably want a playset of the Jellicent and Frillish. It's that good. And if you're somebody who plays a lot of Gardevoir, you definitely want to get your hands on it. The Guardian deck usually plays a 2-2 line of Jellicent. You don't need a 4-4 line in Guardian. Just a 2-2 line will suffice, but still very good card regardless. We do have a brand new Gigalith here. Revenge Cannon, 20 damage for each damage counter on your bench fighting Pokemon. If you find a way to get damage on your bench Pokemon, it's going to be like an okay attack, but it's stage 2. It's kind of slow, kind of mid. New Sock here with Rising Chop. For when fighting, does 9 damage. If your opponent's active is not an EX, the attack will do nothing. It's not affected by weakness or resistance. It's like okay. It doesn't one-shot Iron Hands. If you put a Defiance Band on it, it would be doing 120, but still, like, you're not hitting for weakness, so it's mid. New Excadrill EX. This one is definitely a little awkward. Penetrating Drill. For 2 fight energy, does 60 damage. The attack does 60 to one of your opponent's bench Pokemon that has any damage on it. So you can play this with, like, Halucha to snipe something. It doesn't need 2 fighting energy, though. If your opponent's not playing Shaman, though, this card could be a decent way to pick off little guys. And then you got Rock Tumble, 200 damage, not affected by resistance. You're mostly going to probably use Excadrill for the first attack. If they're not playing Shaman, this card is okay with Halucha. There is more fighting support coming out with Mega Lucario and stuff, so maybe this card could be better than. I don't know if you need any of it. Like, maybe like two copies of it just in case, I guess. I don't know. Maybe it's like okay at that point. New Conkeldurr here with the ability Craftsmanship. This Pokemon gets 40 more HP for each fight energy on it. You can, like, literally stack energy on it. I also think it works with reversal energy, which is kind of cool. And then you got the attack Swing Around that is 100 damage, flip 2 coins, does 50 for each head, so at most it can do 200 damage. The ability is kind of cool, but this card's obviously more of a bad deck Friday card, in my opinion. I don't think you need to get any copies of this Conkeldurr. It's not very playable, but it is pretty funny nonetheless. You can make some cool things happen with that ability for sure. Maybe you can play like a stall deck, just stack reversals on it, because that, I think, gives it 3 fight energy if I remember correctly. New Throw here. Shoulder Throw, 120 damage. To stack just 30 less damage for each colorless in your opponent's active retreat cost. I mean, it's not that great. I mean, there are situations, like, I guess since Miraidon, if they have a Latias and play this card as one-shotting stuff, because I think at that point the retreat cost goes away. I'm not too sure on that one, but I don't think this card is very good. I would maybe just pass on the Throw also. Crustl's kind of cool, though. Is it better than the other Crustle we have? Well, it does have that sturdy ability. If it has full HP and would be knocked out by damage from the attack, it's not KO'd, and then its remaining HP is 10 instead. If you can find a way to heal Crustle, you can make it really difficult to knock this thing out. And then it's got Stone Edge, does 80 damage, flip a coin of heads, the attack does 60 more damage. Not a bad little card. I think the other Crustle is just better. Like, the other Crustle we already have in the format is probably better than this Crustle. It's not terrible, though. Maybe get a couple copies of it, but I would maybe pass on that also. What is good, though, is this new Archeops, which has that Primal Wings ability. Once you're in turn, if this Pokemon is in the active, you can choose one of your opponent's evolved Pokemon and then de-evolve it by putting the high stage evolution in their hand. So it's basically like TM Devo on an ability. That's pretty good. You can de-evolve a Pokemon and then still attack. Now, yes, it does evolve from a fossil, so it's in that, like, awkward kind of thing where you need to get the fossil out, but I think this card is pretty strong. I definitely like it a lot. There are some decks that can abuse it, like Dragapult and Grimmsnarl. Actually, not Grimmsnarl, Dragapult maybe. But yeah, being able to de-evolve something and then attack them is kind of diabolical, man. This card is really good. I think you can use multiple Archeops. You can, like, switch into 2 of them if you really wanted to. You can, like, retreat into another one and then switch. So you can, like, double de-evolve in a single turn. Very good card. I like it. I would maybe get a couple copies of this Archeops fossil line just in case, because this ability is very strong in my opinion, especially in a meta where there's a lot of evolution Pokemon seeing play. New Menchao is not very good. New Terrakian's okay. It's got Retaliate, does 50 damage. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out by damage from an attack during your opponent's last turn, the attack does 80 more damage. So you can do, 130 damage for 2 energy, so you can do 260. I mean, it's not bad. Maybe you could play this as a one-prize attacker in, like, Armor Rouge, so you can use it against Miraidon if it does make a comeback, so you can one-shot the Iron Hands and the Zekroms and Miraidons for a one-prizer to offset the prize trade. I guess that's, like, the main benefit of this card. It's, like, okay. Get, like, maybe 1 copy of it just in case, I guess, for your buy list. New Landorus, unfortunately, doesn't do much. Needs too many energy to do 110 damage. This new Scolipede here has got Poison Point if it's in the active spot and gets damaged by attack from your opponent's Pokemon. Even if it gets knocked out, your opponent's active is now poisoned. Meh. Mid, and its attack is, like, okay. Venoshock does 180 if they're poisoned. The other Scolipede, I think, is a lot better. There's another one in the format that can, like, knock something out if they're poisoned, which is way better. New Liepard here doesn't do anything that crazy. New Scrafty's also kind of mid. It's cool, though. Does Frasco attack 60 damage. Flip a coin for each dark Pokemon even plays 60 for each head. So if you fill up your entire board with dark Pokemon, I think you can also play this with Area 0. You have a cool little attack there, but it's on a coin flip. More of a bad deck Friday card, obviously. New Garbodor, unfortunately, is not good. We got Trashlands back, but it wasn't even on the Garbodor card, which I find hilarious. Crocodile here has Tighten Up, 6 damage. Your opponent discards 2 cards from your hand. That's not terrible. Combine that with like 0/6 Machinations and Unfair Stamp. That could be pretty funny, but overall it's like kind of mid. It does have an attack though that does 240 damage if your opponent has 3 or fewer cards in their hand. It just needs a lot of energy powered up. It's like a bad deck Friday card, obviously. This new Zoroark I do like quite a bit, though. It's got 2 very good attacks. They literally combine 2 of the best Zoroark cards together with this card. It's got Mind Jack, 30 damage, 1 Dark Energy, just 30 damage for each of your opponent's bench Pokemon. And then you have Foul Play, choose one of your opponent's active Pokemon's attacks, and then copy it. So you got Mew EX's attack, and you get that Mind Jack attack all in one. Pretty good card. It works with Ignition Energy. You get Ignition Energy to your Zoroark to build up Foul Play in 1 turn. And then Mind Jack isn't bad either against Guardy. Like, it's a decent card. It's a good Stage 1 Zoroark. I like getting a playset of this card, just a 4/4 line for sure, because this card definitely is pretty strong in my opinion. Yeah, I like it. Get a 4/4 line of it for sure. We do have a brand new Hydreigon here. Now, this card isn't really that good by itself, but as a tech card in Hydreigon EX, the other one we have, the Obsidian Flame one, it's actually pretty good. It's like a mini, well, I don't even know if it's a mini Iron Hands. It's similar to Iron Hands. It's got that Greedy Eater ability. If your opponent's basic Pokemon gets knocked out by damage from this attack, you take 1 more prize card with this Pokemon, which is really strong. So it does have to knock out basic Pokemon, and the downside is its attack does require 5 energy to do 200 damage and then retreat locks them. But what you can do with Hydreigon is you can play with Ignition Energy and TM Blindside, or even Crisis Punch, I guess. So what you can do is you go TM Blindside, Ignition Energy, you snipe something for a knockout, and then you take 2 prizes for killing them with the ability. Really cool idea. More of a tech card in Hydreigon, just maybe get like 1 copy of it, in all honesty, but I like it. As a Hydreigon fan, I'm a big fan of this card. It kind of blew my mind when I found out that combo. More of a tech card, but yeah, getting 1 copy of this Hydreigon EX isn't bad if you're somebody who likes to play Hydreigon EX already. New Mana Buzz here. Once you're in turn, you may have your opponent reveal their hand. You put a basic Pokemon you find there with same HP or less on their bench. That ability is actually not too shabby. You can play this in like a deck that like wants to retreat lock your opponent as like a mini Erica, or you can use it to force stuff into play to then get knocked out. So like you can put stuff into play your opponent doesn't want on their bench, which can be annoying to deal with. It is a Stage 1 Pokemon, but you can use it as a retreat pivot with Air Balloon or Rescue Board or something, which is kind of cool. So I like it. Maybe get like a couple copies of this Mana Buzz just in case. The ability is like not that bad. The unit Scavalier that goes with the Carablast unfortunately isn't very playable. This new Bisharp isn't very good either. New Ferrothorn, Power Whip, 20 damage, reach Metal Energy on it, 20 of your opponent's Pokemon. It's kind of cool. You can play this with Metang, but it's not very good, unfortunately, because it doesn't do enough damage. It's like 20 times is kind of mid. This new Klinklang is also mid. Unfortunately, we didn't get the Shift Gear Klinklang back. It's got an ability, though, where each of your metal Pokemon in play take 20 less damage. I think the ability does stack, but I mean, taking less damage has never really been that good right now, so pass on it. This new Durant, also, I would have to say pass on it. It's not very good either. Snookle Baleon's also a little mid. I mean, Metal Arms is 8 damage. If it has a tool on it, you do 120 damage, but it's just not doing enough damage, man. New Genesect, however, is very good, and I definitely like this card. It's got that Metal Signal ability. Once you're in turn, you can search check for 2 Metal Evolution Pokemon and put them in your hand. This card is great with Metal Pokemon like Goldengo, Scizor, Archaladon, and Metang. Honestly, get a couple copies of the Genesect. Get 2 copies of it for sure. It's definitely good in Metal Evolution decks. And Goldengo's already been playing this card. Archaladon's going to be playing it. If you're a fan of those Metal Evolution decks, I would definitely get a couple copies of this Genesect. 100%. Definitely not a bad card at all. His new Haxorus here has Crosscut, does 80 damage. If your opponent's active Pokemon's Evolution, do 80 more damage. And then you have Axe Bomber. If your opponent's active as a basic, just immediately gets KO'd. So you're handling both different types of Pokemon Evolutions and basics, but the Haxorus is like mid. There you go. It requires a little bit much energy. I mean, the second attack, play with reversal energy, I guess, but it's okay. Maybe it'll be better when, like, Megas come out. If we get, like, big Mega at basics, I'd see a lot of play. This card actually could be pretty funny with reversal energy. Druddigon, it's kind of mid, unfortunately. Watchog's not good. New Unpheasant here. Now, keep in mind, there's a pit up that I think lets you get out Unpheasant for free, but this Unpheasant isn't great either. High speed, flight, 120 damage, flip a coin of heads. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage and effects of attacks on this Pokemon. Could be a fun little troll deck, I guess, but there's no way to reflip the attack, right? That's why we need a reflip card back in the format. New Audino here with Return. 1 colorless does 30 damage. Draw cards. You have 6 in your hand. Could be pretty nice against Budew. You can draw cards while killing Budew. That's never a bad thing. I don't know if this will see much play, though. It's 100 HP basic, so you need to find it a bit harder. You can just pop in for it. It's like mid. It's not bad, though. Maybe having a couple copies of this Audino won't kill you, I guess. New Cinchino's got Do the Wave, 20 damage for each of your bench Pokemon. Doesn't do enough damage, though, unfortunately. Even with Area 0, you're still not hitting hard enough. You don't have a typing, so you're not hitting for weakness. This new Stoutland here. Flip your coins. For each head, put a card from discard pile in your hand. This could be really nice as like a control deck. It gives you infinite resources, which is kind of cool. It is a Stage 2, but I like the attack. It's not a bad attack, in my opinion. There's no way to reflip the attack, though, which would have made it a lot better, obviously. You can do 200 damage if it has special energy on it. Put it in ignition energy and a counter gain on it. Attack for 1 energy. New Boufflant is kind of cool, too. It's got an ability where it takes 30 less damage from attacks. You can also combine that with the other Boufflant. You still have to play 2 of those Boufflant. The Boufflant doesn't work with Boufflant EX. But you can take 90 less damage, which makes this Boufflant have quite a bit of HP at that point. And then it has Goldbreaker that does 200 damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX. It's not bad because you can make it bulky. It's a colorless Pokemon. Play with like Glass Trumpet. It does need 3 energy though. You have to like go Glass Trumpet plus Crispin to build it up, but it's a little fun tank card, I guess. That does do some solid damage overall. Braviary is not good. The Tornadus also isn't great either. And then we get into the items here. So, Air Balloon, reprint card from the Sword and Shield base set. The retreat cost of the Pokemon this card is attached to is 2 colorless less. This card is great, and 100% you want to get a playset. Or not even just a playset. You want to get probably like 12 of this card or 8 of this card. It's that good. Like, multiple playsets of Air Balloon is required because this card is a great card to have back in the format. Yeah, great card. One of the best cards in the set, to be honest with you, just because of how universally good it is. That extra retreat is nice. Like, putting this on, like, a bulkier Pokemon like Zekrom EX or whatever is really good. This card is fantastic and one of the best cards in the set, for sure. You definitely want to get a lot of Air Balloon if you can. Or if you already have some left over from the Sword and Shield block, there you go. Antique Roof, or Cover Fossil, the Tirtuga card. Again, if you're going to get the Tirtuga, you might as well get the Fossil, obviously. Then, yeah, same with Plume Fossil for the Archeops. Then we got Brave Bangle, another very good card. A lot of good trainers in the set. Brave Bangle, the attacks of the Pokemon this card is attached to, excluding a Pokemon with the rule box, will do 30 more damage to your opponent's active Pokemon EX, which is very, very powerful. This is another really good card. You probably want to get a couple playsets of, like Air Balloon, just because of how strong it is. It's really good with one-prizers like Typhlosion and stuff, so 100% you want to get a lot of these. It's just a great card for sure. And like with more EXs coming out, this card will continue to get good. And if we ever get more better single prizers, this card will continue to get better. So yeah, I definitely recommend picking up at least a playset or more of it. Charen, draw 3 cards. These draw 3 cards never been that good. Energy Coins is interesting, though. Flip 2 coins. If both are heads, search check for basic energy and attach it to one of your Pokemon. It is kind of a turbo-y card. Very high roll, obviously, but I don't know. Like, I don't think you need it because it's, like, very risky to, like, actually flip 2 heads, but it's, like, okay, I guess. I don't know. Get a playset just in case. Probably not going to be that playable, though, or good, but you never know. Energy Retrieval reprint. Then we got Fennel here. This is a card that works with Musharna. Heal 40 from each of your Pokemon. This card is actually not bad as like a way to like get around Grimmsnarl and Frostlass and Dragapult spread. I think Picnic Basket is better though because it's an item, not your supporter for turn, and you also heal your opponent's Pokemon, which can actually be annoying because you can remove Monkey Dory damage off their board. It's a very mid card though, unfortunately. I don't think it's very good, but it's cool nonetheless. Harlequin. Each player shuffles their hand of their deck. Flip a coin. If heads, you draw 5, your opponent draws 3. If tails, you draw 3, your opponent draws 5. I mean, we've seen these type of cards before in the format, and they've never been that good, so I would probably just pass on Harlequin. Hilda, though, I do like. Search deck for an evolution and an energy, and put them in your hand. Very strong card. I think you can get any energy, so even special energy, like Ignition Energy, or Prism Energy, or Luminous, or Neo Upper Energy. And then an evolution Pokemon is great to get stuff like Dracloaks and Dragapults, and oh my gosh, this card is great. I would also, once again, pick up multiple playsets of this card, because this could be a staple supporter in the future, or even when it comes out, to be honest with you. Very strong card. It's like better, potentially better than Brock Scouting, because like the energy is honestly a huge upgrade over getting just like evolutions and basics. Ents Plot, move up to 2 energy from your bench Pokemon to your active Pokemon. It is 2 energy, so it could work with special energy technically. I don't know if it's very good though. Maybe get a couple copies of it in case it does see some niche play, but I don't know if the Ents Plot will see a whole lot of play. It's a cool idea though, and there are some different like unique things you can pull off, like some cool plays out of nowhere. But there's already Poppy in the format, which I think is better. And then obviously Scramble Switch also is like another similar-ish card to this card. Research, reprint, Tool Scrapper reprint, another really big card. Choose up to 2 tool cards in play and then discard them. Nice tool removal card. Now, Jamming Tower is already in the format. Jamming Tower is low-key better than Tool Scrapper in some situations, but this card is searchable with Arven, which does help it quite a bit. Definitely a card you want to get a couple copies of for sure, because I think a lot of decks will play it, maybe even like more than like just a playset, one of those type of things, just because it is Tool Scrapper reprint. It's a great card. Like against Guardy, get rid of that Bravery Charm, get rid of other annoying tool cards like Brave Bangle, Heroescape. But again, I think Jamming Tower is a better card, but still not a bad card to have, obviously. It's still good in the format regardless. Then we got some Special Energy, which are also cards you want to get multiple copies of, like Ignition Energy. This card is attached to one of your Pokemon, discarded at the end of the turn. As long as it's on evolution Pokemon, it requires 3 Colorless energy, which is kind of insane. So that builds up a lot of Pokemon's attack cost for free for just 1 energy attachment. It is a one-time use because you do have to discard it, but great card. Pick up a playset of it. Maybe even get more than just a playset. Like, get 8 copies of it because there are a lot of decks that might utilize this in the future and right now. Prism Energy reprint's also pretty big. As long as it's on a Pokemon, it provides a Colorless Energy. If it's on a basic Pokemon, it provides a Rainbow Energy, which is very good. Great card to have in Ho-Oh Armor Rouge, for sure, over Luminous Energy. But that's the thing, though. It does clash with Luminous Energy in some situations. Like, you're not going to want to play this in Dragapult because it doesn't work on Dragapult. It only works on Monkey Dory, but there are decks that will play it. Again, another card I would maybe get a couple playsets of due to how playable it actually is. And if you're somebody who likes to play Ho Armor Rouge, not a bad card to have either, in my opinion, right? So there you go. Those are some pretty good special energy cards in the set. And there you go. That is my complete set review buy list discussion for the new Black Bolt and White Flare set. It's a pretty solid little mini set. Well, it's not even a mini set. There's actually a lot of cards in it. But the set is playable, and there's a lot of good cards in it. A lot of cards will upgrade older decks. Like, there isn't really any, like, new archetypes come out of the set overall. It's mostly just giving us cards to make old decks better, like Goldengo and Gardevoir and Miraidon get a big upgrade, and, like, Ho-Oh Armor Rouge Toolbox. But still a cool little set. And there are some cards of value in here for sure. And some cards might get even better in the future in this set. Hope you enjoyed. Again, I'll leave a link to Justin Basil's site down below. If you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe down below to help me reach 25K subs here on the second channel. Catch you all later. Bye-bye.